Breakfast and brilliant ideas, coffee and conversation, we're serving up that and much more at IBJ Media's events. Join us at an upcoming event and kickstart your day with fresh ideas and new connections. Check out our event lineup and register now at ibj.com/RSVP.
And they are finding Northwest Indiana, in the shadow of Chicago, an affordable place to call home. The region attracting talent, business interest, and maybe even a professional football team.
Looking to throw, going deep, searching for DJ Moore, over the shoulder, catch, made, touchdown Bears!
Hammond, Indiana, putting itself on the map through its border battle with Illinois to become home to the Chicago Bears. Northwest Indiana is rewriting its story, and people are taking notice. From the generational expansion and double-tracking of the South Shoreline to quality of life projects, reshaping communities across the region. In this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC, Northwest Indiana Forum CEO Heather Ennis shares why she believes the region is entering one of the most important chapters in its history and how investment, collaboration, and momentum are creating a renaissance in the Rust Belt. And I'm pleased to be joined on the podcast this week by Heather Ennis, the CEO of the Northwest Indiana Forum, a group that has been very active for a number of years, but I think even more so now with all of the momentum, the activity going on in Northwest Indiana, and the Northwest Indiana Forum is right in the thick of things. And Heather, how are you?
I'm great today. Thanks so much, Gary.
Well,
how are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thanks for taking the time. You know, I mentioned so many things going. Well, as we begin, give us just a quick thumbnail of the Northwest Indiana Forum and what it is that you do.
Sure. So we are the 7-county economic development organization up here in Northwest Indiana. We cover 7 counties, Lake, Porter, LaPorte, Jasper, Newton, Pulaski, and Stark counties. So just that nice corner of Northwest Indiana. We're just a stone's throw from the city of Chicago, and Northwest Indiana Forum acts as the voice of Northwest Indiana business. So I'm a registered lobbyist, as is another member of our team. And so we do a lot of advocacy for the business community up here in Northwest Indiana. We market the region as the place for business. So we're tip of the spear for economic development projects that want to come and locate in our lovely region. And then we stake out and drive bold initiatives that wouldn't happen without the forum. So we are the chief cat herder around our regional economic development plan called Ignite the Region. And we've used that plan to submit for ready applications as well as other funding opportunities.
Yeah.
And bring about regional collaboration.
Well, I want to talk about certainly one of the companies, one of the organizations interested in potentially moving there, the Chicago Bears, getting a lot of attention. I want to talk about that a bit later. But first of all, Heather, $47 billion economy, the second largest economy in the state of Indiana, the gateway, if you will, to Chicago. For a lot of years, a number of years, the narrative around the region, though, centered on a lot of negative news, steel losses, population losses, economic headwinds. That's changed. What has changed?
It's changed dramatically. And so that's the precise reason that the forum came into existence. Actually, in 1979, when the steel industry was taking a downturn, industry got together and said, we need to diversify our economy. And so I think we bumped along kind of in that bottom section for a long while, dependent on steel, but also so reliant on it that when it had ups and downs, our economy really saw some volatility. And so as we diversify our economy, as we look at opportunities that are continuing to come down the pipe, as you said, $47 billion economy, we're seeing numbers now that are projecting $52 billion gross regional product. And in the last 8-10 months, we've seen potential of over $30 billion of investment. And that's not including the Bears. So, really, really an exciting time. And I think what's driving that is regional collaboration. I think that it stems from everybody getting together, getting on the same page, and really working on strategies. All of the organizations have their own uh, strategic plan and their strategies, but being able to roll those all up into one regional strategy has really been helpful and beneficial. And so,
Doing that regional cooperation sounds like an easy thing to do, but in so many places around the state, it's anything but that. And I would say especially in Northwest Indiana, because there are so many cities and towns and entities, and everybody has their own turf, if you will. How much of a challenge has it been to pull the region together as a region?
bringing everybody together was a little bit easier than keeping everybody together, I would say. Um, we're 61 municipalities. We've
Well,
got, 23 economic development organizations. We've got regional organizations that do a variety of different things, and it's all needed. There's plenty of work to go around. So just keeping everybody working together and rowing in the same direction is where the Ignite the Region strategy really comes in. And again, it's not to discount anybody else's strategy or anybody else's plan. All of that plays into it. And I think you and I have talked about this previously, but like got the idea for this as I was talking to Bill Hanna at the RDA, who was talking at that time. This was 2017. That they were coming up with a new or reinventing their strategic plan, and was walking into our building with Ty Warner, who is the head of our regional, not NERPC, one of our regional planning organizations. And he said they were putting together their 2025 plan, which again sounded like a lifetime from 2027, but oh, how fast time flies. And then as we were talking about that, I was like, "Oh, are you guys talking with one another, and are you working on this all together?" And it really put a spotlight for me on the fact that we all needed to be in better communication and better aligning those strategies. And so, we've got many seats at the table. The work is not done by the forum for the most part. We do the economic development stuff, but there's tons of infrastructure, placemaking, talent, uh, you know, entrepreneurship and innovation, arts and culture that are happening in other organizations. We just try and document it all in one place and keep everybody apprised of what's going on.
yeah, let's talk about the momentum that is being seen now in Northwest Indiana. I know you and I talked a while back, and your statement was that Northwest Indiana had its swagger back.
Yeah.
In your view, what does that mean? There are so many projects that we've covered, most notably the South Shore extension, the double tracking at the South Shore, generational, projects that have been talked about for a long time on the South Shore, better connecting the region to Chicago. So many communities improving quality of life, their downtowns, all those things have happened, and actually beginning to see population increase, seeing professionals moving from Chicago to Northwest Indiana. Give us kind of a thumbnail. I don't know where to start on that, but of what you're seeing there and how dramatic a change it is.
It's so fun. So like when you look at a city like Michigan City and the renaissance and resurgence that's happening there, NICD and the RDA really with the double tracking of the South Shore commuter rail line, the NICD rail line, um, the RDA came in and is doing transit development districts around those. And the investment that we're seeing in those transit development districts is amazing, and really creating walkable, livable communities where you can be a commuter into Chicago, or people in Chicago can be commuters out to Michigan City to enjoy a beach life for a weekend or for a lifestyle. And so it's really fun to see the investments that are coming in there by Flaherty and Collins and many others that are doing housing developments. Again, really causing a resurgence in the city itself. We're seeing in Hammond, the bank building, the old Bank Calumet building that's been redeveloped even before that train station even gets put in. The investors came along and said, "We want to redevelop this bank property," and they're seeing, they're close to full, and they're full with people that did not live in Indiana previously. And so it's really a remarkable opportunity to attract population growth, to attract per capita income, higher wage earners, and really add to our workforce as those folks that may be commuting into the city start to call Northwest Indiana home and decide that they might want a little shorter of
Yeah.
a commute and want to be part of the business climate here in Northwest Indiana.
You're actually seeing these are numbers, and I've seen some or heard at least anecdotally fairly substantial numbers of people who are deciding to move across the state line. What are you hearing from those people? Why are they doing it? Why are they moving from Chicago to Northwest Indiana?
Northwest Indiana is a really friendly place, and it is a wide berth of opportunity. So with 61 municipalities, we have places where everyone feels welcomed. Everyone can find a community where they find um, that feels like home to them, that they really appreciate. And they're smaller communities, even though we're 875,000 people across our 7 county areas. Having those different communities really gives the opportunity to feel welcomed and feel part of a community. So we had folks that had moved here in the height of 2020, in the height of the height of the pandemic, that moved to, a couple of people moved to Crown Point, a couple of people moved to Valparaiso, and in talking with them and talking about their experience, both of them said, in 6 months of living in Northwest Indiana in the height of a pandemic, we've met more people than we met in our previous 6 to 10 years living in larger communities in Illinois. So, we really have that welcoming hometown feel for Northwest Indiana, and it's fun when you find other people that love it as much as we do.
So I assume it's a combination of things with the South Shore improvements. The commute is quicker, more efficient, so they can get to their jobs downtown or wherever it might be as quickly, or maybe even more quickly, and yet also benefit from taxes, quality of life, those types of things that you see on the Indiana side. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely, people come for the affordability and the great quality of life that you get for a much more reasonable cost here in Northwest Indiana. And then they stay for the charm and the opportunity and the ambiance that they find in the community. So it really is, we've really, really been fortunate to have, so many people finding us. We're marketing ourselves more and more now, than we ever have been. That used to be one of we were humble Hoosiers for a long time and didn't necessarily tell our stories loud as we should have. So we really have gotten better about telling that story and attracting folks and building those relationships out in across the country, really, to be
Yeah.
able to attract folks to want to live here.
As you look at the economy that was for so many decades, almost exclusively driven by steel and heavy manufacturing. Certainly, steel an important part of the economy to this day, and will be going forward. But a lot of other elements are playing a factor in there, including technology. You mentioned the Ignite the Region vision. How big of a piece is technology and new technology to that vision?
It's critically important. I mean, the high tech industry is on our radar as a target industry. Quantum, we're doing an awful lot around quantum opportunities, quantum research and development. We've leaned into with ready projects both into the one of the country's um, best, most integrated quantum communications network here in Northwest Indiana. And that goes to downtown Chicago, part of the Chicago Quantum Exchange and the
What?
Block
Yeah,
Tech Hub.
Heather, dumb that down if you could for people like me, but this whole quantum push, and we hear a lot. I know Tom Dockich, among others, really leading that charge in Northwest Indiana, and that connectivity from Chicago to Northwest Indiana that could extend ultimately all the way down to Crane in Southern Indiana and across the toll road, all that kind of thing. A lot of big things are being talked about. Kind of put a bottom line on that and what the potential is, in particular for Northwest Indiana.
So quantum is the next iteration of technology. If you think about it as the jump that we made when we went from analog to digital, that exponentially is going to be even greater as we look at what the opportunity is to go from digital to quantum. And that quantum opportunity creates problem solving that would have taken hundreds of years for supercomputers to be able to figure out. That quantum computing process could figure out in a matter of days or hours. And so it's pretty exciting when you look at where that technology is going. Initially, when we were talking about this, everyone thought that we were, just drinking too much sci-fi Kool-Aid. But now, as you sit with the Department of War, you sit with um, legislators and those that are really leading big think ideas, um, quantum is an integral part of all of those conversations. So we're grateful for those that pioneered these ideas to the table for us around our, when we were doing Ready One and 2021. Oh my goodness, it's a long time ago. But that again, those things are starting to really pay dividends and come to fruition. And we're seeing, again, that research and development element come here to Northwest Indiana. We've got the Roberts Impact Labs at Purdue Northwest that is set up to be a quantum commercialization center and quantum connectivity happening around that. So really, we're excited to be part of that ecosystem, but that ecosystem is broader than just Northwest Indiana. It is, a tri-state initiative, really with the Chicago Quantum Exchange, Argonne, and Fermilab, and large research institutions like Purdue, University of West Lafayette, University of Chicago, and many others playing significant roles in that. So it's pretty exciting to have some quantum roots here in the Midwest.
Data centers are the buzz, are all the craze these days, not just in Indiana, but in many parts of the country. Governor Braun has, I think is pretty much all in on supporting data center development in the state. Major investment by Amazon, among others. I know in northern Indiana, in particular, Northwest Indiana. But there's a lot of pushback, obviously, from residents to data centers. Some would argue, based on misinformation. What are you seeing? Give me the view in Northwest Indiana in terms of, number one, the investment and the interest that you're seeing from big data companies. And number two, how do you envision data centers as being part of that whole technology picture in the region?
Yeah, and certainly there is some concern and some uh, community, I'll say, unease over a data center investment, and we are doing our best to try and mitigate that and to try and bring facts to light. We're seeing significant investment. Google, Microsoft, AWS, all investing in Northwest Indiana, the Digital Crossroad data center that came online after the 2019 legislation was passed by the state of Indiana, really making us a welcoming place for data centers. And uh, so with that legislation, it opened kind of an opportunity for um, data centers to look at Indiana in a different light. That sales tax exemption that data centers see uh, on their enterprise equipment is not unlike some sales tax exemptions that are available for large manufacturers on manufacturing equipment. So um, I think change is hard, right? And we are in this AI revolution and this change. And we've seen across history where big changes like this cause a lot of unrest. The same types of changes happened in the Industrial Revolution and happened with the introduction of the automobile. And change is difficult in a community, but these types of investments we've seen where they've been successful have attracted additional investment and have attracted more research and development. Um, the They're becoming more and more efficient with water usage. So data center building uses less water than a golf course and less water than a freestanding car wash. And some use next to no water that use a closed loop system, and the only water needs that they really have then are for their regular coffee pot and restroom needs. So I mean, there's not they vary in scope and size, and so there's just a significant amount of misinformation out there, and again, that continues to be um, elevated by people that have disinterest in us moving forward with these types of technologies. So,
Yeah.
I think that um, there's they are bringing great opportunities, great jobs. If we talk about the Amazon project in Hobart, um, it's 15 billion investments, or a billion with a B, not $15 billion investment. The community will see before they have a building fully vertical, $100 million of of revenue that will come to the city. Um, they will then see over $40 million annually from this investment, and their general fund was, I think, in between 22 and $24 million originally. So game changing opportunity for bringing more perks, more programs into the community, more opportunities for school. So really, and coming into a spot that in their comprehensive plan was laid out as industrial or light industrial. So it's, I know nobody looks at a comprehensive plan when they decide where they're going to live, but so it is consistent with the strategy that was in line with what the city was trying to do originally, and the upside and the benefits for communities, particularly as everybody's seeing some change from Senate Enrolled Act 1 and what that means for local municipal funding. That community will not need to see an income tax increase now, because they have significant dollars in their coffers in order to be able to stave off looking at that. They won't have to do a referendum to be able to support and fund their schools in the future, because they have significant dollars to be able to help
Yeah.
mitigate those things.
One more question before we go to the break, and then we're going to get into a little Bears discussion. But when it comes to technology, and you have just laid out some of the pros of quantum technology, what that could mean, data centers, a lot of interest by these big tech companies, in particular in Northwest Indiana. As you look big picture um, at the region in 10, 15, 20 years, based on your location, you're close to Chicago, close to Lake Michigan, water sources, all those kinds of things. Do you see the region that was once driven by heavy manufacturing being ultimately this high tech, cutting edge technology kind of region, kind of economy, if you will?
I do. And I see, but I don't want to discount our manufacturing roots. And I think that's really where we have such a great advantage, because in order to remain competitive, all manufacturing is going to become advanced manufacturing, right? And technology is going to drive that. Um, Automation and opportunities. My husband and I have one child. We didn't even create replacement parts for ourselves, so we know population isn't growing at the same rate that it used to be growing. We need to find these new tools in order to replace workforce that isn't. People aren't having 8 kids like they did, back in the 60s. So how do we make sure that we're keeping up with the technology in order to create manufacturing that still can thrive now and in the future? So I don't want to discount our manufacturing roots, and I think that advanced manufacturing is still going to play a key role in this, but adding those technology elements to it um, make us even more attractive. And then as you look at the technology elements from quantum communications and quantum commercialization, and our manufacturing roots in over 20% of the nation's steel being made here, it really makes us an attractive opportunity for defense, and really going into that um, sector and looking at, we've got deep freshwater ports, we've got airport assets, that have capacity here in Northwest Indiana. We've got quantum communications technology. We've got steel production. So the SHIPS Act plays component pieces and opportunities for us in that I think are very, very strong. And then in Northwest Indiana, we grow a lot of things too. We make a lot of things, we grow a lot of things. We don't necessarily make a lot of things with the things that we grow. So I think that we've got a lot of opportunity around that technology component with ag value strategy as well. So I think it's a well-rounded picture, but I do see it as a place where technology is going to continue to revolutionize the way we do business here.
Well, one of the exciting developments or potential developments, certainly, that's getting a lot of attention is the potential of the Chicago Bears to build a new stadium and entertainment complex in Hammond, in the heart of Northwest Indiana. We'll talk about that when the Business and Beyond podcast returns. Stay with us.
As a bank, PNC prides itself on being boring. But the truth is they couldn't be more excited to serve the dynamic Indianapolis community. For nearly 160 years, they've quietly toiled away to deliver brilliant results for their equally brilliant clients. They have dedicated PNC teams throughout the local area all ready to do the boring work to help you unlock your own brilliance. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865. PNC Bank, National Association member FDIC.
We build Indiana. The Laborers International Union of North America builds and maintains roads, bridges, and other essential infrastructure that make us the crossroads of America. So thanks to LIUNA members' work, Hoosiers have a better quality of life, like access to utilities, easier routes to jobs, schools, or medical care, and deliveries keep moving. We build Indiana for good jobs and stronger communities. The Laborers International Union of North America. We are LIUNA.
And welcome back to the Business and Beyond podcast presented by PNC. My guest this week is Heather Ennis, the CEO of the Northwest Indiana Forum, organization really at the heart of economic development activity in the second largest economic region economy in the state of Indiana, $47 billion, probably $50+ billion economy, sitting right in the shadow of Chicago. And Heather, a lot of your attention, a lot of the attention being placed on the region for the last several months has been this whole potential, which I think the chances have increased exponentially, perhaps, of the Bears locating a new stadium in Northwest Indiana, in Hammond. I've got to ask you, when you first heard of this possibility several months ago, what did you think?
Yeah, so this is a project that has been long in the making, and of course, as a lover of Northwest Indiana, I thought they'd be lucky to locate here, and that we've got a lot of potential and a lot of opportunities. And no offense to your Indianapolis listeners, but most of our Northwest Indiana folks are Bears fans, and so we get more Chicago media than we get Indianapolis media up here, and so most of our Regionites bleed orange and blue, so they are really true Bears fans. And so, what a great opportunity for our region to really shine! What a great opportunity to showcase the opportunity of Northwest Indiana, and to be able to look at a world-class organization and say, "We'd love to have you call this home." And with their consideration, the world has awoken and is really paying attention to what's happening in Northwest Indiana because of it.
Yeah, well, talk about that, because whether the Bears decide on Indiana or Illinois, wherever the case might be, this attention, this big spotlight that has been cast upon Northwest Indiana, what has it done in terms of awareness, interest from folks who maybe didn't think much about the region before and now are kind of giving it a second look?
Yeah, so I can't go anywhere across the country without people from California or Seattle or New York talking to me about the Bears wanting to locate in Northwest Indiana. So it's really been a great megaphone for us to tell our stories. I could not be prouder of our communities that have put their hat into the ring for the opportunity and really showcased their best foot forward. And again, I couldn't be prouder of our legislators and the governor for really rallying around this opportunity and showing what business means in Indiana, and that we know how to get things done and we know how to get things done quickly and be decisive about things. It's really bode well for us, as well as looking at business climate and what Indiana means when we say we mean business. And so it's fun to be able to be part of this team and to see what's happening, not just across the Bears commentary, but the chain reactions from it.
How important do you think it is? You mentioned how Indiana came together and put together this proposal, a package, got it through the legislative process in a pretty quick, short amount of time. Now, at the same time as we're taping this, the Illinois legislature is set to adjourn in a couple of days, basically, at the end of the month, and they're still scrambling to come up with a package. Indiana's had their package on the table now for months. Um, how important is that, and how big a factor do you think that might be, the fact that Indiana came together, got the deal done, it's out there, whereas Illinois continues to kind of flounder a bit?
Yeah, I think that really bodes well for us. And I think that, we've got a AAA credit rating. We've got all of the elements that make this a great deal to do. We have money in the bank and willingness to become a partner in this venture and to say, we want you, we welcome you. And that speaks volumes to other businesses looking to invest in the state and the region as well. And so I think that the ability to get this done quickly has been paramount. Um, and I think that, again, that's why we've been winning so much over the past several years. I mean, we've seen over the past 10 years a great successful track record for the state of Indiana. And it is because of our ability to get to brass tacks, get the deal done, and make sure that we're welcoming this type of investment. And so, and again, I'm not going to say this isn't a zero-sum game. I love being connected to the city of Chicago and the opportunities that it presents, but I am proud of us and the way that our state has shown up and the way that our region's shown up for this opportunity.
What would it mean, in your view, to Northwest Indiana if the Bears do decide to locate a stadium and an entertainment district that would go along with that? What would the impact be, in your view, in Northwest Indiana?
It elevates the game for us exponentially. It really changes the dynamic for the city of Hammond, and it changes that whole southern side of Chicago. I mean, the opportunity to grow an entertainment district from the city of Chicago all the way through to Northwest Indiana, and really for um, the people in the city of Chicago to not look at us when we come in for a meeting and they say, "Oh, thank you for coming so far." They will realize it's 30 to 45 minutes away, and it's not the other side of the moon. So it'll continue to strengthen our image, which, as I said, has over the last 10 years really dramatically improved both internally and externally. So I think that hosting a Super Bowl, the again, hundreds of millions of dollars of investment that come alongside this from an entertainment district perspective, the opportunity for concerts and other things outside of the regular football season that continue to showcase Northwest Indiana, where we get visitors maybe for a day, but then they see the beautiful lakeshore and decide to come back and be vacationers. And then they meet a couple of folks here in Northwest Indiana and decide to call this beautiful place home. So, the sky's the limit for this opportunity. Um, Again, I think change is hard for anybody. And so I know that, that there are folks in the Illinois legislature and Illinois leadership that are waiting for that Hail Mary pass here in the 11th hour of the fourth quarter. So, but I really feel extremely proud of the way we've shown up. And again, I think the Bears would be lucky to locate here, and we would welcome them with with a ticker tape parade.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. I know a lot of people, certainly in Northwest Indiana and around the state of Indiana, are anxiously awaiting a decision by the Bears, and a lot of folks with their fingers crossed for Northwest Indiana. Heather Ennis, the CEO of Northwest Indiana Forum. Heather, it's been great to catch up with you. Really appreciate all you continue to do for Northwest Indiana and the state of Indiana as well. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
All right. Always great to talk with you, Gary. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us on this episode of the Business and Beyond podcast. We're a weekly conversation with achievers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. And you can download all of our episodes and get Indiana business news 24/7. All you have to do is go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. I'm Gary Dick. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.